right, we're going to go ahead and start skill 10, factor by grouping. So you want to get out your notebook paper to take notes. We're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, so just this idea of introducing factor by grouping, just like we did with grouping greatest common factor, this is a similar idea. Both of these terms have an A, so when I pull out an A, I'm left with the 3x plus 7. Both of these terms have a B, so when I pull out a B, I'm left with 4 plus 7a. What makes this different is sometimes, instead of just an A, we may have something more than an A. So it asks us to rewrite the expression by factoring out an x plus 8. So both of these have an x plus 8. So I'm going to pull out an x plus 8. And if I divide everything by an x plus 8, x plus 8, I'm left with a 3x squared plus 7. Similar to this one, it asked me to factor out a 3x minus 7. If I factor out a 3x minus 7, I'm left with a 6x, and this becomes a plus 1. So notice this does not have any inherent factors. However, when we say we factor by grouping, I'm going to group these first two terms together and these second two terms together. And I'm going to pull out the greatest common factor, w squared, 5w plus 7. I can pull out a 6 from this. When I factor out a 6, I end up with a 5w plus 7. Now this looks really similar to what we did the slide before. So I have my matching term. I can pull out my matching term. Once I factor out my matching terms, my leftovers of w squared plus 6. We're going to continue this idea. We can factor out a w to the third, 3w minus 4. From this one, I can pull out a 2, and I get 3w minus 4. So now this looks like what we have been used to. I have my matching. I have my leftover. W to the third plus 2. Three w minus 4. I want you to go ahead and pause the screen and try this one on your own. So you're trying this one on your own. We group these two and these two. The greatest thing these have in common is a 2u squared. So I'd pull out a 2u squared. I ended up with a u plus 1. I can pull out a negative 1, u plus 1. Now I have my matching and my leftovers. I pull out my matching, and then I just have my leftovers. These ones here have multiple variables, but I can still handle it the same way. What these have in common is a w, so I'd pull out a w and I'd have 4 plus u. These have a -4, and I'd end up with a 4 plus u. Once again, I have my matching term and my leftover term. We'd pull out our matching term, 4 plus u, and then our leftovers. Go ahead, pause your screen, try this one on your own. I can pull out a 2v, 4 plus 3w. I can pull out a -1, 4 plus 3w. Now I have my matching and my leftovers. Pull out my matching, and then my leftovers combine. This is similar to what we've done. All I can put out of these is a 2, so I'm going to pull out a 2. What I can pull out of these is you just have a u. So I end up with a y minus 24. So when I see this, this is not, these are not matching. So what I may have to do is that makes us sad, arrange the original. So let's try rearranging this. And now I'm going to try the grouping again. I'm just going to pull out a u. Not a 4, a u, sorry. Pull out a -6. These are technically the same, they're just rearranged. And then this is my leftover. So I pulled out my similar, there's my leftover. Well, you guys to go ahead and try this one on your own. If I kept it as it is, I can't pull anything out. I can pull out a 1. I can pull out a positive y. These do not match. So we're going to rearrange. Out of here we can pull out a y. Out of here we can pull out a -3. Or +3, negative u plus 5y. These are matching. And then here's my leftovers. So I pull out my matching, and then I'm left with my leftovers. Okay, we're going to be working with a factor chart. And this is something that you guys are going to copy and keep on. I copy this and keep handy. So we are going to just do parts of it, but I want you to copy this basic skeleton. Once you're done copying the basic skeleton of it, move on to the second slide. So we're just going to do these two bubbles. We did, when factoring, you first always look for the greatest common factor. When we have 4 terms, we do grouping. When we do grouping, we separate into 2 groups. And then we pull out the GCF of each group. That helps you remember we have matchings and leftovers. If that helps you remember. And then if you want to copy these examples, we can pull out an x squared and we end up with x plus 1. We can pull out a 5. X plus 1. Here's our matching. Here's our leftover. And then we do the same with this bottom one. We pull out a 3n squared. And we end up with 2n plus 1. We pull out a 4. 2n plus 1. We have our matching and our leftovers. There we go. That's skill 10.